Hey, what's up guys? Andrew coming at you guys today with a brand new video. Before we get into this video, I just want to mention to you guys, you might notice I'm using a different camera. This is a camera I've had for a while, we just haven't really used it, but I know it's a lot better camera than the one on my phone. Better autofocus, so when I do my videos on toys unboxings, you guys will actually be able to see it better. So let me know what you guys think. If this looks worse, let me know. If it looks better, let me know too. Yeah, just trying something different here. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this. So this is a tag video. Andrew Bellina tagged me in about 2 weeks ago. I've just been really slack, on getting this done, procrastinating. I've been busy, as well as like this list. It was kind of a tough list. It wasn't super easy to make my decision on a lot of these just because there's so many good 80s slashers. So this tag is the 80s slasher tag, I believe is what it's called. I might be saying that wrong. I know Andrew didn't originally create this. I'm not too sure who originally did it, but I was tagged by Andrew to do this. So I'm going to leave a link to his channel below, as well as a link to his tag video, so you guys can do that. And if you want to participate, I'll just leave this open because I'm not too sure if anyone's even doing this tag anymore. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So I had to make a list here. So the first question is your best gore effects in an 80s slasher. This one was a no-brainer. 100% had to agree with you on this one, Andrew. The classic Maniac, one of the best 80s slashers of all time. The head exploding scene on here is just so over the top and so grotesque and just awesome in every way possible. I had to definitely choose this one. As well as, like, when I think of 80s special effects, I always think of Tom Savini, and I feel like I had to definitely choose a movie that he was, that he did special effects in. So yeah, definitely had to choose Maniac on this one. This is a new 4K transfer from Blue Underground. So the second question is best 80s slasher with a major star. This one I had to think about for a little bit, and you might see this movie pop up a few times in this tag. So I chose the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, Johnny Depp is one of the stars in the film, one of his first films, before he became a big actor as he is today. But yeah, I mean, original Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my all-time favorite slasher films, not only from the 80s, but just of all time. And I had to definitely choose the original one here in the franchise. The third question is, what is your favorite favorite weapon used by a killer? So I had to choose another one of my all-time favorite slashers, The Burning. So this is I had to choose the garden shears. I think the fact that they're just so big and large, I just would be terrified if someone came running at me with those. And yeah, I think it's a hilarious item to be like the killer's main item or weapon used to take out his victims. So I had to choose The Burning for that one. Fourth question is your favorite 80s slasher sequel. So this one I had to choose Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. This is probably my favorite. I don't know if you guys are getting a good focus at all on this. I feel like it doesn't look very good, but yeah, Texas Chainsaw Part 2, probably my favorite one in the entire franchise. I think I do like it more than the original, and it's just because of the characters in this I absolutely love. Chop Top has always been one of my favorite characters of all time. I don't know why this won't focus. There we go. Yeah, so Texas Chainsaw Part 2, best sequel, probably my favorite Texas Chainsaw in the entire franchise. The fifth question is favorite sleaziest slasher of the 80s. There's a lot of those for sure, and so this one kind of took me a minute to decide on. And this is actually a movie I recently came across. I've had it for a couple years, but I just recently watched it a couple months back. I guess it's been more than a couple months back, but I chose Microwave Massacre here. This is the release from Arrow Video. And this movie is just so ridiculous. It's completely terrible. It's not a good movie at all, but I just love the cheese factor and how sleazy it is. It's just very awesome. So this is essentially about a guy. I want to talk about this one just for a minute, but it's about a guy who kind of is tired of coming home and having these meals that are cooked by his wife in this industrial sized microwave that they have. It's just always the same stuff. It's bland, it has no flavor, and he kind of gets upset about it, asking why can't he just have something simple like a sandwich. Anyways, he ends up killing his wife and accidentally eating her, and kind of has this taste for human flesh at that point, so he starts killing like hookers and chopping up their bodies and making them into food. But there's just some ridiculous scenes in this movie that just make it super sleazy. Like the beginning scene, there's like this stupid blonde woman is walking. I think she's blonde. I could be wrong. Walks up to this construction site where he works, and like I don't even know what happens, but somehow she like puts her boobs like through this plaque of wood, and all the guys there are just like watching her, and it just looks so weird and not like, it doesn't make sense at all. Not to mention there's another scene where like he has this lady on a giant piece of bread and he's like spreading stuff on the bread. It's just so weird, and I had to choose this one for that question. Number 6 is your favorite kill in an 80s slasher. This was a tough one, so I kind of went for creativity as well as like just humor. So I chose Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. You guys probably already know what kill I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sleeping bag kill, the infamous sleeping bag kill, where Jason takes someone in a sleeping bag and hits him across a tree. It just looks so ridiculous, but I just think it's hilarious, and it's just a really interesting way to die. So that's what I chose for that question there. Number 7 is a favorite guilty slasher, your favorite guilty pleasure slasher. I'll be honest, I'm not too guilty about saying my opinion on this movie, but I had to choose. So going back to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I had to choose. Alright guys, sorry about that cut there. Anyways, I was talking about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 as my favorite guilty pleasure, guilty slasher of the 80s. I know a lot of people dislike the film. I love it almost as much as I love the original. It's not nearly as scary as the original, but I love the characters in it. I love just some of the kills are ridiculous, especially like the shower room scene, and I know there's a whole controversy around that, but yeah, I absolutely love Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I think it's a fantastic film overall. So the next question is your favorite 80s slasher soundtrack. This one kind of stumped me for a while, so I wanted to go with something, I don't know, I wanted to choose something kind of funny, just something that's really memorable. So I chose The Mutilator here. You guys probably know why. It has that super cheesy song, the Fall Break song that just plays over and over and over again. Literally 10 different times in different harmonies, different versions of the song, just continuously is playing. If you just the next time you guys watch this film, just listen, and you'll just hear it like at the most random times you're not expecting. You'll just hear it playing in the background, and it's just so hilarious to me. So I chose Mutilator for that one. Favorite holiday themed slasher. This is another film I've talked about many times on here, so I had to go with Blood Rage. I think it's just definitely the ultimate Thanksgiving slasher film. Another really good slasher film from the 80s, another one of my all-time favorites. And this is the gorgeous release here from Arrow. Definitely had to choose this one for that. Now we're down to the last two questions here. So number 10 is your scariest 80s slasher, and that is another film I've talked about a couple times already in this video. I have to go with the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and I believe Andrew chose this as his option, or as his choice too. When I think of 80s slashers, none of them really scared me growing up watching them, just because I've always seen films that were scarier, I guess you could say, so it just didn't really faze me. However, I remember watching this as a kid, and it did terrify me. Just the way Freddy was, how serious he was. There wasn't as much humor in the original one compared to the sequels. It just definitely terrified me, especially like the scene where he's walking down the street and just has the really long arms. it was just a creepy film to think that, you know, when you're sleeping is like an innocent thing, and to try to take that and make it something to be afraid of is pretty terrifying. So that's why I chose that one. Now the final question here was, I think, was more of an optional question or a bonus question. And it's to pitch an idea for an 80s slasher, or pitch an idea for a slasher that fits in the 80s. This is kind of a tough question. I'm not the most creative person, but when I think of 80s slashers, I always think of just like the biggest, just buffest, I don't even know, like just this a massive person, like a dude, you know, just going, killing innocent people, like teens, you know, for example, and just in like some of the most brutal ways. So I mean, I know if I were to ever make an 80s themed slasher, I would have to find like one of the biggest dudes ever, and just think of a setting where I know there's gonna be lots of group of teens getting into trouble, doing drugs, having sex, you know, the traditional stuff you see in an 80s slasher, and just kill them in the most brutal ways you can possibly think of. Because to me, that's just what an 80s slasher is, and that's what I just always think of it. And it always has, it has to have that 80s cheese. It can't be too serious. And if I were to make a movie, I would make sure it had to follow those guidelines. So I guess that's kind of my pitch. I know it's not very descriptive, but that's how I would answer that question. So that's about it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down below. I hope you guys participate in this tag. If you do, leave a link to your video so I can go check it out. Because this was a fun tag. It was definitely one I had to sit down and think about it. Obviously, it took me 2 weeks to make this, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.